So I gave Cuphead a machine gun. And not just any machine gun, but the M249 straight from Counter-Strike. And before you ask, no, this is not some editing trick where I just pasted a gun and some bullets over gameplay footage. Instead of taking the easy route, I opted to crack open the game and mod this brand new fully functional weapon into the code. Hey everyone, this is Dave, or EphiTV here. You may know me from a few similar videos like this one, where I hacked Iron Lung to show you what happens outside the submarine, or this one, where I broke apart Hollow Knight to show you some pretty interesting secrets hidden within the code. But even more on topic is the video I did on Cuphead last year. Aside from going out of bounds, I also showed how some unique parts of the game worked behind the scenes. Since I already had a proven method for hacking my own code to run inside of Cuphead, the potential for mods was basically limitless. But taking on a project like this, even for a seemingly small mod, is no simple task. I just never had an idea that I was interested in spending weeks on end making for what could amount to a few minutes of good footage at most. Well, except for one very dumb idea. What if I did give Cuphead a gun? I always thought it was too stupid to even bother making a video on, but somehow that one bad idea stuck around in the back of my head for months. So a few weeks ago I decided to just buckle down and start programming it, and as expected, it was nowhere near as simple as it sounds. There were a ton of pitfalls along the way, but I did enjoy the challenge. So come along and join me on this journey to making my dumb idea a reality. Jumping back into my Cuphead project, I still had Unity Explorer set up in the game folder, which is a great tool to quickly test code on the fly while the game is running. I could poke around the game a bit, run some scripts here and there, see what happens, and then head back to an actual development platform to iterate on my code. My first thought was creating the machine gun as a completely new weapon, using the default P-shot as a base for my new code. I was able to find all the other weapons in the project, create the basic code for my new weapon, and get that injected into the game. Unfortunately, this is where I started hitting dead ends left and right. You see, Cuphead, like many other games, is built from countless interconnected scripts. I could make a new weapon based on the game's code, but that meant I also had to provide a sprite, animations, sound, and countless other things that were already locked up in the project. So I had to pivot here. But it wasn't all a waste of time. Digging through so much weapon code gave me a very thorough understanding of how it all works. With that in mind, I decided to try a different approach. If adding a brand new weapon was off the table, why not modify an existing one? I mean, the P-shot basically already did what I wanted, it just needed some tweaking to transform it into a machine gun. So my first order of business was removing the shot cooldown. Instead of getting a couple shots per second, the gun could now fire every single frame. That's 60 shots per second here, but it could go even higher with an uncapped frame rate. At this point, with just a few minor changes, it was already pretty fun to play around with. So my next task was replacing the projectiles with proper bullets. I opted to go with this sprite from Enter the Gungeon because why not? Properly replacing and animating the sprites actually proved to be quite the challenge here. You see, Cuphead runs a lot of the game through pure animations, not code like you'd usually expect. I could disable the old projectiles animations, but that would stop the bullets from functioning entirely. So instead of removing the old projectiles, I left them in and just made them invisible, and then I attached the new bullet sprites to that same object. As hacky as it sounds, stuff like this is actually very common in game dev. If the player never notices, who really cares how it works behind the scenes, right? Anyways, jumping past a lot of trial and error, the bullets were working as intended, but the gun itself was still missing. I was originally thinking of adding in some meme weapon like an AK, but I kept thinking back to the M249 from Counter-Strike. I guess it just seemed to fit with how many bullets were flying across the screen. Well, that, and I wanted to throw in yet another sprite that horribly clashed with the game's art style. Anyways, after a lot more fiddling, the gun was in, and it all looked good enough. But it still felt a little bland to me. So I decided to spice things up by adding in a little recoil animation. Slightly better, but still not there. How about some screen shake on top? Not bad, definitely adds some impact, when I don't have the shake settings too high that is. But it still needed some audio to really sell it. Now, without understanding the common methods for hacking Unity games, I can't really explain to you how much of a pain it is to inject custom audio while the game is running, but I'll save you all the overly technical, boring explanation and jump ahead a few hours to when I finally got those stubborn clips working in the game. So here's that glorious moment where everything came together perfectly. I would be happy to upload this project as a mod somewhere, if not for a few things preventing that. First of all, Cuphead modding doesn't have much of a community. The game doesn't officially support mods, so it's a pain to get any outside code running in the project. I mean, just check out the Cuphead section on Nexus Mods. There isn't even enough stuff on there to fill up a single page. Likewise, there's no community-supported mod loader. This would make it a huge hassle for the average player to get any mod running in the game. This is in contrast to other popular games like Subnautica, where you can basically drag and drop mods into a folder and be good to go. Aside from that, the whole thing is pretty janky. I mean, it works as intended, but there's a lot of loose ends that could have cleaned up here and there. For example, since I replaced the P-shot projectiles with bullets, that had an interesting side effect of also changing some of the enemy projectiles. Every now and then I'd get blindsided by a tiny bullet flying out of some random enemy. These new projectiles not only looked weird, but were usually pretty hard to spot. Another problem was that the weapon didn't really handle firing upwards all that well. I mean, you could shoot up, but the animations looked bad and the sprites were never properly aligned. Speaking of animations, I had no chance at making decent custom animations for Cuphead, so I didn't even try. Sure, I can script up a ridiculous machine gun into a project full of foreign code, but my hand-drawn animation skills are basically non-existent. Anyways, there's a lot of other minor stuff like this that I could keep on listing, but I think we all get the gist by now. I could have spent another few weeks really polishing this up and releasing it as a big mod, but that would only take time away from my other projects. Between filming and editing new videos, finishing up my upcoming game, and polishing a big dumb Cuphead mod, it was pretty obviously low priority. So yeah, that's Cuphead with a machine gun. Pretty much what you expected from the title, huh? The idea is about as straightforward as can be, but the execution is where things really got interesting. Figuring out how to take this simple concept and get it working within the confines of a game that I didn't develop was a pretty unique challenge. And like all the other hacking and modding videos I've done, it was nice to work on this big project in between some smaller content. If I only made videos like this, I could probably only put out a few each year, but mixing it in with some quicker stuff helps me keep the channel a bit more active in the downtime. So here's the part where I ask for all your dumbest mod ideas. Not that I'm in the market for more bad video concepts, but I do like hearing them. Feel free to let me know what you think of all this in the comments. Do you want to see more long mod videos, shorter form content, or something else entirely? I'm all ears. Anyways, if you want to see more stuff like this, you can check out my past videos, subscribe for some future content, whatever you want really. But until next time, have a good one, folks.